Jai Hind everyone. My name is Gunjan Saxena, Assistant Professor, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. Welcome to Software Engineering series. Today I am here to just discuss about some topic from Unit 5, which is software maintenance. In this particular lecture, I am just going to tell about some introduction part about maintenance, case tools and risk management. Let's start. So basically, in our last lectures, or we can say in our last series, we have discussed about the software making, software planning, information gathering, after then testing, and at the very end, when the software is completed, this will come at the last stage in our software life cycles. Okay, after the product has been released, what we are doing, we are keep maintaining the maintenance part. We are just up to date. Our software is doing well or not, or maybe what are the chances in future they have occurring from particular errors and circumstances. So after the product has been released, the maintenance phase keep the software up to date with environment and changing the user requirements. It's consume about 40 to 70 of the cost of the entire life cycle. Maintenance can only happen efficiently if the earlier phase are done properly. So the next term we are going to discuss about what is the evolutionary part of the software. So when we are talking about the software maintenance, it includes the error correction, enhancement of capability, deletion of obsolete capacity, and the optimization. Now, as a change cannot be avoided, we would develop maintenance for evaluating, controlling and making modifications. Hence, any work done to change the software after its operation is considered to be a maintenance work. As a team, or we can say as a term, evaluation has been used with reference to software since 1960s to the significantly prove the growth of dynamic nature of a software. Now, what is the software maintenance? Basically, software maintenance is a very broad activity that include error correction, enhancement of the capability, detection of obsolete capacity, and the optimization. As per IEEE concept, it is a modification of software product after delivery to correct faults, to improve performance or other attributes, or to adapt these product to be modified in the environment. Now, there is a concept behind the software maintenance. First, we know about what is the complete life cycle of any software, or we can say what is the evolutionary part of any software. First, as we discussed in our first PPT, or we can say presentation, the very first part is planning. Now, suppose we are designing or we are taking care of any particular software. The name of the software is X software. First, we have to plan about the software. What we are going to design? What are the necessary requirement? What are the particular steps involved this particular software? So the very first part, or we can say the very first step of any particular software evaluationary is planning. First, we have to plan about our project. Okay. So after planning is done, or we can say the problem statement is done, what we are doing? We are doing to go about collecting the requirement, or we can say now we are start the information gathering part. In information gathering, what we are doing, we are so many points, or we can say we are so many steps are there for collecting the information regarding this particular project. What are these maybe some interviews are there, maybe some expert talks are there, maybe a group discussions are there, brainstormings are there. By using these particular steps or phenomena, we are just going to collect, or we can say we are trying to retrieve the information about this particular project. Now, this particular part, or we can say step, comes under the unit 2 of software engineering. The name is SRS. Simply we say, when we are completing the planning, or we can say the problem definition part, then we are starting, or we are going to information collection about the software, which is known as software requirement specification. In this particular step, we are going to take, or we can say we are going to retrieve or achieve some important part about the software. What are the basic requirements of that particular software? What is the minimum hardware requirement? What is the software requirement? What will be the process for ensuring the reliability of particular software, atomicity of the software, scalability of the software? In short, we can say the functional and the non-functional requirements based on these particular software will be decided in this particular step. Okay. Now, after then, planning is done, SRS is completed, we can say a documentation part is completed, or we can say the proper requirement is finally as a document in between to customer and the project management end. Okay. Now, after this, we are going to design and prototyping step. In this particular step, we are or we can say we are moving to our third unit basically. In this particular step, we are collecting what kind of designing method we are using, if we are using object oriented type, or we are using the functional designing as well, or what kind of model we are going to use, like prototyping is there, or spiral is there, or many more are there, which we have already covered in our previous videos. Okay. So, in this particular step, we are going to start, or we can say involve in designing and the prototyping. In this particular step, the customer is already involved. Actually, the feedbacks are there. By using these particular feedback, if there is any changes, if there is any suggestion or improvement chances are there, then the team can easily rectify and doing accordingly. Okay. Now, in this particular step, now the term, or we can say the step, is when we are going to development part of the software, or we can say the implementation part of the particular software. After this particular step, when the testing, when the implementation part is done, or we can say the coding part is done, the next phase, which is named as testing. So, this is very, very important. In this particular step, or we can say in this particular phase, all the programmers and the tester are mutually concerned each other and going to test this particular software, or we can say coding, for the next part or the future requirement. So, this part is very, very important. In this particular phase, we are just checking, or we can say we are just testing our complete project as a whole. And after this particular testing, when the phase, or we can say when the steps of this particular testing is already done and satisfied, then finally, as we representing by this picture, the last stage is final deployment is there. If our software is already done by the testing part, then the next part is finally to deploy our software. And now, for the today's lecture is starting for here only. When the deployment is done, the main part, believe me, the 30 to 40% of ratio of the cost is already involved of this particular steps, which is nothing but operation and the maintenance part. When the software is deployed, actually the evolutionary part is not end. When from the beginning to end and the circular movement, the maintenance part is always going on. Okay. Now, basically what is the need of maintenance? As we discussed earlier, many kind of errors are there. The user requirements are not fixed, they are variable, they are changing time to time. So just collecting them, and changing of hardware and software environment to improve the system efficiency, optimize the code of run faster, modify the component. Many more points are there which is lead to the need of maintenance part. Okay, so this diagram is basically shown. These are the main, or we can say these are the basic software development life cycle points. Here this circle is showing the total cost about the project. The 3% part is involved in requirement. This is the basically this is the concern, or we can say a hypothetic about the cost for involving for the any software. Okay, so 8% for designing, 7% for implementation, 15% for testing, and this 67% part is involved in maintenance part. Okay. Now, what are the categories for software maintenance? Basically, there are 4 type of categories: correctness, adaptive, and perfective and preventive. As the name suggests, what is the corrective maintenance? Suppose we are just purchasing any AC or any fridge, we are just purchasing them and went to our home. If we are finding some errors or some normal defect, then the corrective maintenance are there. We are just calling the customer care, and his engineer is come and simply fix it about, है ना? So this is about the corrective maintenance. Now adaptive. What is the adaptive? Actually, we are ready, or we can say we are making our software like for future challenges. We are just predicting, we are just thinking in different changing environment, and our software is always ready to adapt all the change in environment. Okay, so this is adaptive maintenance. Now perfective maintenance, obviously we are doing we are getting some software for the particular work, then it means improving processing efficiency or performance, or instructing of the software to improve the changeability. Okay, now preventive maintenance. In future, we are saying the part we are in the future, this particular thing is maybe arises. In car, we have a airbag. So what is that kind of maintenance? Maybe we are predicting if there is any chances of any kind of accident, the user, or we can say the customer, will prevent from the occurring in future perspective, you know. So it is a process by which we prevent our system from being obsolete. Okay, now this is the total cost from the maintenance part. The corrective taking 21 part, preventive is 4%, adaptive is 25%, and the perfective part taking the 50%. This is the basically distribution of the maintenance efforts. Okay, now what are the case tools? Basically case tools are stand for computer aided software engineering. It means development and maintenance of software project with help of various automated software tools. So case tools are set of software application program which are used to automate the SDLC activities. All the activities we are saying we are doing something like in designing, we are designing something for the software. If we are having some tools which can be ease in our making, or we can say in manual, so case tools are there. There are number of case tools available to simplify various stages of SDLC, such as analysis tools are there, design tool, project management tool, and many more are there actually. So the case tools, or we can say the component part of the case tool, is divided into 2 parts. See, these are the software life cycle stages as we know about earlier. So the 3-part planning, analysis, and design is divided, or we can see said to be a lower case tools, and the implementation, testing, and maintenance is called as lower case tool. Basically both are inbuilt called as a integrated tool. So case tool can be broadly divided into following part based on the SDLC stages. The very first part is central repository. In this particular part, we are just say there are so many case tool are already inbuilt, and this particular repository is actually collecting, or we can say securing, all these particular case tool. The case tool require the central repository, which can be served as a source of common, integrated and consistent information. Central repository is a central place of storage where products specification, requirement documents, related reports and diagram, other useful information regarding management is stored. Just like a Play Store, we have so many apps. If we are thinking about the Android app, so there is a Play Store which is just like a repository which is giving the environment for our different kind of app. Just like that. Okay, so uppercase tool are used for planning, analysis and designing stage of SDLC, and the lowercase tool are used in implementation, testing and maintenance. So as an integrated case tool are useful in all the stages of SDLC, from requirement gathering to testing and the documentation. Okay, there are some examples for case tool, like in planning and requirement phase, flowchart maker are there, Creative Pro, Office, Basecamp. For the designing phase, UML tools are there, coding, Eclipse are there, many more are there, as the particular screen is showing. As we are saying, if we are just finding the maintenance, or we are applying maintenance part, so we can say a high quality center case tools are there, or we can say if we are trying to do some testing, or we can say we are just making some test planning very quickly and efficiently, then Cucumber case tools are there. In our syllabus, basically these tools are not to be going to be implemented as a point of view university exam. I suggest you just recall about this particular diagram, or we can say the staging processing about the component of case tool, and just remembering or recall some of the case tools from this particular slide. Okay, now basically the case tools are divided in this particular diagram, as we are discussed earlier. In this particular slide, if we are dividing, or we are thinking about the component of case tool, we are just dividing into 4 parts. As see here, the central repository is there, and the different SDLC phases are connected to this central repository, as the diagram suggests or represent. The repository part is there. So in this particular repository, so many case tools are there. Some example is showing in this particular diagram. Some coding support, backup and recovery tools, documentation tools, analysis and design tool, export and import tool, information security tool, query and report generator, modeling tools, configuration management, prototyping tools and project management tools. So these are some tools which are very helpful or beneficial for any customer, say the engineer, or we can say any team member which are doing in different work at different level. Suppose a person, or we can say employee, is working in designing part, and they are just going to represent or making any flow chart and the algorithm. As in the last PPT I have discussed, the flow chart maker and Creative Pro Office, these 2 tools are very effective for making any kind of flow chart and the algorithm as well as. And if in the training phase, as a theoretical concept, we are just studying about the so many diagrams are there, DFD diagram and use case diagram, many more we have already discussed in last videos. So UML and animated software design tools are there for just making these particular of diagrams very easily and quickly. Okay, so next, basically in the diagram tools, basically these tools are represent about the system component and the state of art of flow chart. Process modeling is basically used for to create a software process model which is used to develop any software. And the project management tool, likewise Creative Pro, Pros, Track, Project and Basecamp, which is used for project planning, cost and effort estimation, project scheduling and resource planning as well. Now, some document tools are there, Doxygen, DXplain, Adobe, Rope Help for documentation. If we are just making any kind of documents, we are just using these already inbuilt tools. Analysis tools, 360, Compa, Case Complete for requirement analysis as well. In designing tool, these tools are help in software designer to design structure of software which may further be broken down in smaller modules. And configuration management tools, these are like instant of software release under one version, and version and revision management basically. Now, change control tools, these are the tools which are the part of configuration management, and they deal with the changes made to be software. Basically the scalability part of any software can be connect, or we can say inbuilt, by using the change control tools. And the programming tool, basically different programming environments are there. EDI is there, inbuilt module library and simulation tools are there. Some prototyping tools like mockup builder for designing a prototype for our software very quickly and easily. And web development tools, foundation 3 brackets, basically just providing some environment in which already added element like forms, text, script and graphics as well as. The quality assurance tools are there like SOAP test, app watch, Jester. Basically it is used for, or we can say, the engineering process and method adopt to develop the software product in order to ensure comfort of any software quality. Maintenance tools, software maintenance include the modification in the software product after it is delivered. Okay. Now the last part is after the maintenance and the discussion about the case tool. What are the risks and what will be the what is the meaning of risk? Risk, basically this is the expectation of loss, basically a potential problem that may be or may not be occur in the future, but we are concerned about this particular risk. Okay, it is generally caused due to the lack of information, control time. The possibility of suffering from loss in software development process is called as risk. Okay, software risk can be a two type. Maybe it is a internal risk, maybe a external risk. Internal risk, which is the under control of project manager, and the external risk, which is the beyond of project manager. Project manager is also cannot do anything in between. Okay, what the risk management is carried out. Firstly, we have to identify the risk, reduce the impact of risk, reduce the possibility of likelihood of risk, and continuously monitoring about this particular risk. Okay, now we are just suggesting about the classification of the risk. Firstly, project risk, technical risk and the business risk. What are that? In any kind of software, or we can say in any software making, when we are doing about the software development, or we can say the deployment and the maintenance is ongoing, the project risk is we are making some project and obviously some goals are there. So this particular project is not actually getting the complete goal, or we can say part goal. So some risk are there, as we can say we are just making a fan, or we can say we are just making a AC, and when we are this particular AC to the customer, and the customer is using this particular product in between, or we can say within a 2 or 3 months, what we are complaining, we are receiving the complaint from the customer, the particular fan or this particular AC is not working properly, or we can say the expectation or the requirement is not matching. So this is all concern about the project risk. And in terms of technical risk, suppose we are purchasing some TV, and nowadays we are just a TFT TV, or we can say some smart TV, and nowadays technologies are improved, or nowadays smart TVs are there, Android TVs are there, and the Google inbuilt TVs are there. So our project, or we can say our software, is going to be adapt or scalable, like for a future use only. Okay, in a business risk, basically we are we are doing, or we can say we are planning about the business budget about software. Maybe the budget is exceed from our incoming budget, or we can say as the market is changed, what we are making, what we are getting the software, and nowadays this particular software is out of date, or we can say is not reaching to the customer need. As we said earlier, the requirements are not fixed, these are variable. We are very much ready about any this risk, maybe project risk are there, technical risk are there, business risk are there. So these are the project risk and technical risk, business risk, as we talked earlier. So what are the management process? Actually, these are 4 steps just for providing, or we can say just in project management, or we can say the risk management process. First, we have to identify about the software risk. What is the software risk? So first we have to identify. Okay, after this identification, we are just going to analysis this particular risk. We are just analysis what kind of risk is there, and what is the basic cause about this risk, how we can overcome this particular risk. Okay, now after then we are just come to the third point, which is planning. Now have to plan what will be the solution, and the providing solution is going to be fruitful work and the continuous work. ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार में हुआ देन उसके बाद आगे क्या हो रहा है, वी डोंट नो. Okay, so what will be the planning? Planning is just making the solution of this particular issue, and the continue work is going on, and this particular part is done in the monitoring part. So we are identify, okay, we are identify the problem, we are just going to analysis the problem and planning about the solution. But the very important part is monitoring. We are just focusing, or we are just monitoring these particular issue is not arises in future, or maybe arises, so then we are ready for the solution part. Okay, as well. Now the complete brief up, or we can say the sum up of today's lecture. Basically in this particular lecture we are just conducting, or we can say we are just discussing about the software maintenance when the software is developed, or we can say the evolutionary part is done and the software is deployed. Then work is not end, actually the work is actually started, because the maintenance part, as we are discussed earlier, the 60% of our total cost, or we can say effort, is required in maintenance part. So we have to connect with customer, we are just trying to communicate with customer, and ready for all kind of challenges, all kind of risk are there. And after then we are discussing about some already inbuilt and central repositories case tools. We are just dividing, or we are just discussing about the component of this particular case tool. After then, when the maintenance part is done, obviously some risks are there, and we are just ready for these particular risk resolution. What we are doing, we are just firstly identify the risk issues or the problem behind, after then analysis of them, then planning about the solution, and the last step is continuous monitoring about them. So in today's lecture I'm just stopping over here, and maybe in our next lecture we are just taking other points and other topics. Okay, Jai Hind.